Aloha and welcome. In this video, we're going to be talking about indicators of attack and compromise. So let's go ahead and define those. An indicator of attack, or an IOA, that's basically any sign that your system is under attack. How do you find that out? Well, you're going to be looking at your logs. You're going to look at your network traffic. You're going to look at your system logs. You can do security data analysis and find this out. So you're going to be looking through your logs. And if you see things like, um, you know, let's say you've got an attack coming in, somebody's trying to brute force a password. Let's say somebody's trying to log in as administrator, and they've tried over and over to get in as administrator, and it's failing. That's one thing. I remember as a Linux admin at one point, I had multiple attempts from one IP address. Actually, it was three, and then it would change, and a couple milliseconds later, the attack would come from another IP address. Three attempts, and then it would come from another one. So I had a distributed denial, or I had a distributed brute force attack going on. It was coming from multiple IP addresses. So yeah. So anyway, you're looking for these signs. That would be an indicator of an attack, indicator that something's going on. On the other hand, we have the indicators of compromise, the IOC. And indicators of compromise are basically evidence that you have been compromised. You've already been compromised. Could be ongoing, might not be, but there's evidence that you have been compromised. And what is that evidence? Well, it could be something like finding a cryptographic hash that matches a known malware's hash. So that's going to let you know that you've been compromised. So this is something to keep in mind. Indicator of attack. It means we're looking at logs and your network traffic things. You see that you've got something going on. Something is being attempted, at least attempted. Then indicators of compromise. Uh-oh, we've been breached. That's the difference in the two. So there's charts in the book explaining the differences and everything. When we're talking about the common IOAs, IOAs enable the identification of potential incidents and attackers, TTPs. Remember what TTPs are? We talked about that in previous. And it's going to be monitoring behavior patterns and system anomalies. It's going to prevent the escalation. So you don't want, when you've identified that something's going on, you want to be able to stop them and to make sure it doesn't escalate into a full breach. And then, you're going to have, IOC instead of IOA. So IOAs, they include network defense alerts, resource usage anomalies, and unusual access patterns. So frequent control blocks by network defenses such as firewalls, along with spikes in CPU or memory usage, indicate attempts to access malicious sites, malware infections, or unauthorized processes. So sign like the inability to access data, unusual login times, or missing logs not only suggest ransomware or network problems, but also covert exploration by attackers exploiting known vulnerabilities and attempting to hide malicious activities. So there's a list of common IOAs in our book. You can go through there and look at the different types, and it's nice because they're matching up different IOAs like an account lockout with a likely attack type. So for account lockout, most likely going to be brute force attempt that's locking it out. And what is the impacted security principle? So remember we talked about the CIA of security principles. We've got confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So it goes through each of these and it talks about which one of these security principles are being attacked. Then we have our common IOCs. IOCs serve as evidence that a security breach has occurred. It's going to indicate that the presence of malicious activity, within your network or your system. And they range from malware signatures, which are detected through antivirus scans, to unusual outbound network traffic that suggests data exfiltration. Exfiltration being when you're taking data and you're sending it out somewhere else. So once you've gotten into a network, you found your valuable data that you want to steal, and then you're exfiltrating it. You're sending it out to some kind of a command and control, or maybe it's just a site that you've got that you've commandeered, and you're going to just dump the files there and retrieve them later. So changes in file integrity can indicate unauthorized access or tampering, while unauthorized user activity such as access attempts at odd hours, like hours that you know that the person's not going to be there based on your time zone, things like that. Or you can have the creation of unexplained user accounts that could also suggest your network's been compromised. So a ransomware attack is signaled by sudden encryption of files and the appearance of ransom notes. and that's going to point to a system breach. You can have deleted or modified system logs indicating that malicious activities have likely occurred, because sometimes they can't cover up their tracks. They're just going to delete logs in general. So the early recognition of IOCs enables a rapid response with forensic analysis and containment measures, which is very critical when you're trying to minimize the damage, when you're trying to mitigate the problem that's already occurring. So yeah. So common IOCs, we've got a nice chart again that covers what type of IOC, what likely attack type it is, and what impacted security principle. So, for example, sudden file encryption. That's probably going to be a ransomware attack, because that's how ransomware works, and that's going to be affecting your availability, because if they've encrypted everything and you can't access your drive, it's not available anymore. So it goes through you've got a nice table in here that goes through a bunch of these issues. And finally, it talks about how integrating IOAs and IOCs with an open source intelligence and security sharing standards, such as the structured, and we talked about this, the structured threat information expression, the STIX, and the trusted automated exchange of indicator information, which is TAXII. That's going to help, create this comprehensive security strategy that you've got. So utilizing the public available data through OSINT enhances the threat detection analysis by associating the OSINT data with well-known IOAs and IOCs. And that's going to help improve the security team's predictive and response capabilities. So that's the section we've got here. It's a rather short one. Indicator of attack. Indicator of attack, you're going through logs and network traffic, trying to see, is something going on? Indicators of compromise, on the other hand, that's one where you've got evidence that something has happened here. You could find your anti-malware may have tripped off and said, hey, we've got some malware here. We found the signature in some of the files here. So we know we've got compromise. And then you've got going back to talking about what do indicators of attack give you. You'll be able to see the monitoring. You can monitor the behaviors and the system anomalies and things like that. You can try to prevent it from escalating into a full-blown compromise. And you also have the common IOCs, which are going to be the things that you look for, that indicate that you've been compromised, and that could be file integrity has changed. You could have malware signatures. You could have a lot of encrypted files that suggest something is up. So anyway, that's it for this short chapter. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Aloha.